everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from last time? If so, I'll entertain an order to, a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to accept the minutes. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Kelly will give us a financial report.
All right, going through the profit and loss detail, under income, for interest income, loans, one for $23.55 and another for $8.05 or for $8.01. Underneath interest income for our RBEG account, $11.67, $11.63, $76.75, $104.09, $83.01, $445.68, and $62.37. The reason this one is crossed out is because it was a check that needed to be divided up, and it was the name, it was a specific name there, and so I didn't want that out there in the minutes. So interest income under Startup Kansas loans, $98.43, $44.60, and $103.83. And interest income other is 50 cents, 60.79, 35 cents, 22 cents, 18.68, 33 cents, and 89.39. And then under our leadership class income, this is for tuition payments, a check for 100, 100, and 300. And there might be a couple more in the next month's financial statement. Underneath loan processing fees, 3 items here for $25 each. And then we've got an over-under of $642. So that is our income for the month. Underneath expenses, we have Tax Prep Inc. for bookkeeping for $200. Business revitalization grant to Rackenford Taxidermy for $1,000. That was the business revitalization grant reimbursement. Underneath interest income, pass through to Kansas Center for Entrepreneurship, $44.60, $104.72, and $98.43. Underneath our summer interns, this is for I believe the final utility bill payment to Marianne Sturts for $239.57. Underneath payroll expenses, QuickBooks payroll of $350, Kelly Larson $47.33.33, Chris Heinze $401. Underneath FICA expense for Kelly Larson $268.67 and Chris Heinze $21.77. And underneath Medicare expense for Kelly Larson $62.83 and Chris Heinze $509. And I believe that is all the expenses for the month. Any questions? I think we're missing the AT&T bill, so I believe that'll probably be, we'll have probably 2 AT&T bills in next month's financial statement, because Gene must have paid it after the end of the month.
Well, if there's no questions, we'll file that subject to audit and move right along.
Okay, in terms of director's report, I believe Charlene Bashman is going to be here to talk about the loan or potential loan to the library, Lincoln Carnegie Library. So I think we can just pass on that for the moment, just to see if she does end up coming. In terms of the community storm shelter for USD 298 and 299, this is a continuing discussion from last month when Kathy Robertson and Jude Steckline were here. Last month, what was said for USD 299, they received an $613,000 grant from FEMA, which means they need to come up with a local match of $206,170. And for this USD 299, their FEMA grant was $175,000, which means they need to come up with, what was it, 85,000, I believe, is what they were looking for in local match. And at the last meeting, you kind of directed me to maybe come up with a plan or do some more looking into it. And I sent you an email the other day with kind of some thoughts. That I guess I'm to be honest, I'm just still not sure what. Some of those thoughts were, first of all, I guess an update is the USD 298. They have received a $100,000 donation from the Island Rover Trust for that, so that almost cuts what their local match is down by half. So that certainly takes some of the pressure off. The city was approached about supporting the community storm shelter, and they voted to not do anything. I think the city is looking at some pretty major projects of their own that they're going to have to be coming up with lots of local match for. So I think that they're just feeling very, very strapped and a little nervous in terms of if they're approved for their grants, what they need to do. Let's see. We also talked about the idea of giving them a loan last month, because maybe we could give them a better loan, which would get them more ahead than if we just gave them some kind of donation. But the school can't do loans. The only way around that is to do a lease purchase agreement. And talking to Bob, he really kind of said, no, we don't want to basically own a storm shelter and have the school buy that from us. So he really discouraged that, and I kind of feel the same way. In terms of 299, they are going to be approaching the city of Lucas. I have not had a chance to talk to Jude here in the last couple of days, but talking to Janae Talbot, who's the Russell County Economic Development, she did not believe that the Russell County or Russell County Economic Development have been approached about anything yet. So, as I said in my email, I'm a little uncomfortable with them kind of coming to Lincoln County for taxpayer dollars when they haven't necessarily gone to Russell County for those taxpayer dollars, or maybe kind of start there, see what the response is if they're coming here. That's just my personal opinion. But
the way that works is Lincoln County, my understanding, owns the school. They turned to Russell County, turned that over to Lincoln. I mean, to US, or 299. I shouldn't say county.
Well, I don't know.
But I mean, I don't think, I agree with you. I think let's go to Russell. It's in Russell County. It would be in Russell County. So, I mean, it's not.
So that's just kind of a thought there. And then again, in talking to Bob, in terms of our mission as the Economic Development Foundation, and justifying things to the taxpayers who do fund us and to the IRS in our reporting for what we need to do, can we justify the donation as being economic development? And the thought there is, there's not necessarily job creation, it's not necessarily increasing any property taxes or sales taxes or anything like that. So that was kind of, I guess, another thought. Again, having said all that, the school is incredibly important to, both schools are incredibly important to the county. So, and the storm shelters have been top priorities for them. So that's kind of what's been going through my head. In terms of a budget perspective, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, I believe that we are going to be under budget on a number of things for this year. For example, with the downtown revitalization projects, the summer interns, we had put money aside for those matching grants to help implement those projects. But I'm feeling like the chances that those projects are going to be done by the end of the year in this fiscal year isn't really going to happen. Now, we're going to have to budget for it next year in case they do happen. But right now, I'm kind of thinking that maybe one will be done by the end of the year. I feel still good that the projects will be done, but it'll just be next year. So that's something. In terms of this year's budget, I think we've got room to make a donation if we want to make a donation. We'll talk about this a little bit more, but in terms of a potential partnership with the Chamber of Commerce on something, if we need to do something with our office, whether because of the courthouse moving around, or if we do partner with the Chamber, if we need to be looking elsewhere, that's going to be taking on expenses that we don't have to worry about right now. Such as if we end up renting the space, and then we've got utility payments and stuff like that we don't have right now. So in terms of next year's budget, I'm not really sure what to budget for next year. So if we were going to do something, it might be better to do it in this year than next year. But so those are my thoughts. I just kind of wanted to throw them out to you and see. I believe, talking to Kathy the other day, so they were at $206,000 in local match. Now they're down to $106,000. I believe she was going to be putting together a grant application to the Dane Hansen Foundation to maybe try and get a little bit more there. So maybe work that number down a little bit more. But I don't know. She didn't say what they were specifically going to be applying for, or if they've been looking for other things. It sounds like they. Worst case scenario, they don't get any of their donations. They have planned for it through their capital outlay. They've got a way to do it. So those are my thoughts. I don't know what.
Who was it that gave 100,000?
Eileen Broberg.
And that was to Lincoln?
That was to, yes, USD 298.
And that was right at about 100?
That was 100,000, yeah. Thoughts, comments?
Like how much room would we have? Would we go on a stipend or something?
Well,
Are you thinking like 1,000 or 2,000?
I think we could,
5,000?
if we wanted to do a little more than that, I think we could.
Or like, 3 to one and 2 to the other, or something of that nature?
Yeah, I think we can budget for that. That wouldn't hurt.
Maybe we can see how Russell County acts before we make any moves.
On either? Or
Yeah.
just kind of see. Okay.
They haven't approached like our commissioners or anything,
Yeah,
Um,
they do.
and they said
That's what
no,
we did.
or what did they
Several
say?
times.
They said no several times.
And I think
Over the last couple of years.
the county did approve for both schools a chunk of money out of the web fund to do
Out to
maintenance kind of
other-
things. I don't know, I don't think the storm shelter was part of that. But I don't know if the school plans to go back, or if they have, I don't think they have yet, to come back to ask them for a little bit more. I'm not sure on that.
Well, let's just do it for instance, if we were to say, we would have, if we have $5,000, we could donate it. And then split that up evenly as, would that be enough? Or would that be almost like, not, I mean, would that be sizable enough, or would that be
I
not
don't remember
sizable?
what
We're 185,000.
I think,
I mean,
yes.
to the big picture, of the project.
Yeah. I don't know if it would make that big of a difference. I suppose it would certainly help. I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
Or maybe you're thinking more than that, I don't know.
I'm totally honest, I'm not really, don't really have any specific amount in mind if we were to do something.
See, I just wait when Tim says, see what they come up with.
See what happens. Chad, do you have any thoughts? Barb?
No. When will she submit the grant possibly to Dane?
I don't know. I can ask her.
My thoughts are if there's really no rush right now, let them exhaust all their other grants and ways to fund it. Maybe they'll be down to where they're just needing a couple thousand then to finish it off and we
Very
can
good point.
fill that in. Or if it's a little more, we can decide. We can just,
Dane Johansson, I'm sure, because they're all about schools. and-
Oh, they've turned it down
They have?
several times, yeah.
Oh, I hadn't aware of
Yeah,
that.
they've been putting in grants since the beginning, but,
For storm shelter specific?
yeah.
Well,
But maybe
seems like they've
now,
always
since they've knocked this down,
yeah.
They have some.
But
But
it
again,
isn't
the
gonna
FEMA
fund the
grant,
entire
the FEMA
amount.
grant hadn't
Right.
been approved, or that
Exactly.
into that hadn't been approved, so that's maybe what, maybe
exactly,
Hanson will look on this more favorably now,
that's what I
possibly.
found out.
my impression is when they've asked before, it's been for
The whole
The whole
huge,
shebang,
yeah,
yeah.
and I would think that
And
this
they
would be.
never, they always want, there has to be a little bit of input from somewhere else. I mean, either you do volunteer or somehow you find a way to come up fundraising, whatever. That's,
Okay.
It always amazes me when you have an architect, but there's a design cost in there for 55,000. What did that guy design for a FEMA approved shelter? Where the
Well,
bathrooms go
well,
or
it's the
what?
wiring, it's the structure, the sound structure. I mean, that's what all that is. It's not just, I mean, there's your picture. But I mean, you know,
And if it
the
didn't,
ways to, whether you need ground fault circuits or, you know, the electrical, and I mean, I'm not saying it's difficult, but it's approved by
if it
government.
didn't, if it didn't say school or government on it, it would be half that much.
I have no
That's my
doubt.
belief.
That's unfortunately, but how do we change that?
Yeah.
You know that they can get, or military, I mean,
When the storm shelter might be the same thing. Maybe it's half that much if it wasn't involved in a school.
and they could be, I don't know, I never checked into it. No, I just wait and see what happens. And like I said, I think the schools even have enough that they can come up with. They have their,
It's not, I mean, the project isn't going to be halted until they have it. They know they can fund it somehow or other, right, even with 299.
But we're looking to save and offset costs.
Oh,
also,
right,
so.
I know, that's it, everybody. Both schools would like some help, I'm sure.
Okay.
Next. Let's see. So the Post Rock Regional Coalition, I just wanted to let you guys know, here's my letter here.
The grassroots.
Yes. So, the Russell County Economic Development Foundation, and I believe that the Russell County Community Foundation has kind of been, I'm not sure how to describe this, but, you know, we've all been going through a strategic doing process, but they've kind of taken, I think, a little different spin on it in terms of trying to get organizations to really think big impact, long-term vision types of goals. So one thing that's come out of this is the Grassroots Art Center in Lucas would like to create an area kind of like the Flint Hills, where they have pulled together as a whole region to market themselves as the Flint Hills, and so what they would like to do is have a post-rock region, and by tying together the 17 county area, to begin to kind of get this area to a point where the Flint Hills area is. And so this is all just at the very beginning stages, but you've got the letter here that I received from Janae that explains it a little bit, but I think from just the get-go, they would like to know what counties are interested in participating in this and who's going to be the primary contact. And I've said that since Lincoln County is the post-rock capital of Kansas, I feel like we should probably be very much involved in this. And I mean, I see what's happened in the Flint Hills area in terms of how they're able to market the nature, the geography, the geology, the communities as just something that could be really, really great for this area. So I've kind of thrown our name into the hat, and I don't know, what will come of it in the future and what expectations there might be, but I think it's exciting that there's somebody willing to spearhead this and pull us all together to start the conversation and start making that happen. So I just want to let you know about that. Another thing that I've just found out about that's equally kind of cool from a regional area is out of Red Cloud, Nebraska, which is where Willa Cather, the author who wrote Oh Pioneers and I'm totally blanking. She has several books, but anyway, Red Cloud, Nebraska is where Willa Cather was from, and they are really just as a community doing wonderful things to kind of market themselves as a region based on this author. But the whole idea in her books are kind of about the pioneers and the settling of this area. And so what they are looking at doing is creating a national heritage area kind of focused in on the pioneer movement, moving in, the settling of the prairie kind of thing. And they're basically looking, and I didn't print anything off, but a huge area that kind of stretches from I-80 to I-70, and kind of, it was a 100 to 200 mile radius around Red Cloud, Nebraska, and somehow turning this into a federally designated heritage area. Comparison would be, what's the name of it? There's a heritage area along the Kansas-Missouri line. I think it's either one or two counties in on both sides in terms of kind of the Civil War and the bleeding Kansas and kind of the back and forth that all happened during that time period. So that's a designated area, and there's federal money that kind of comes with this designation to help boost tourism and marketing of the area. So that's kind of a possibility of how do we, again, have a big regional draw, and there's potentially some money that can come into that. That's all just getting started. I really don't know much more than that, but we would be we're right on the edge of that area. So I'll let you know more about that, but I think it's kind of, both of those could be really cool things.
This is just the beginning stages, so
This is
really
just
knows.
right.
It's just to see who's all interested in what we can do from that.
And I think just to kind of start getting people in the room together.
Right. anybody has a plan, I mean,
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's just all getting started here. But it sounds to me like the Grassroots Arts Center is kind of going to be the ones who's spearheading. Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah,
Good
I
start,
do.
start somewhere.
Yeah, I do too. So that's that item. The next item here, 2019 summer internship through the Dane Hansen Foundation. This month is the deadline for applying for next year's summer intern. And I've really been struggling with what to do. I would love to do the same thing as this past year, but I also kind of feel like I just want to see
What else is
some
on?
success, or at least get some of these projects completed to know if it was really worthwhile. Because if none of them get completed, then it seems like, why are we going to put more resources into something that's not kind of pulling through here? I thought about some other ideas, but it all just seems like nothing is really in a firm enough spot to kind of make that commitment at this point. So I guess what I'm thinking is maybe to take the summer off from an internship. I hate doing that because I feel like there's an opportunity here. I hate missing opportunities, but I also feel like with some of the big projects that we've kind of talked about the last couple of years, maybe I just need to kind of keep focusing on getting those things done
Is
instead
there
of
any way
picking
that
another
an
one.
intern would be able to help bolster that situation? I
In
mean,
terms of getting,
yeah. Probably have to
maybe,
think about that a lot.
but yeah, it just kind of seems like since I don't know where we're really going to be with some of these things next summer, how do you hire somebody for, you're not really sure what it's going to be.
Listen to that gal with the danger kids the other day. Well, she was talking about, they've gotten some interns, whatever counties, I don't know if it's Phillips County or whatnot here in the past. One of them was pertaining to law or lawyer. And those kids couldn't believe how much work there was. And the type and the diverseness and the possibility that they could, in the event that they would, that's all they got, a lot of the kids that got on the brain is bigger cities and for mainly income potential. And my thought with regards to this would be, how about trying to secure one of those engineering type students for possibly towers where they're so needing a couple of different type
Yeah.
engineers, and approaching them and seeing if they would be interested because they're having so much trouble getting, because engineers can go anywhere.
Yeah.
We've discussed that.
Well, what are the areas of interns that they have? They're not all
Well,
engineering
you can
type.
probably go anywhere the direction or route that you want.
I mean,
with
you
regards to
could
the
make internship
interns.
like for lawyers, is that what you said, or?
Yeah.
Well, I was using that as a for instance.
Yeah.
But
The thing is that they would need to, the way I understand it, the Dane Hansen interns are available to cities and nonprofits. They're not necessarily available to businesses. Now, I think the only way around that, and I don't know how that would work, is let's say you had a community need that required some special, like an engineer, like we need to engineer something in the community where they need to work underneath an engineer, because I wouldn't be able to provide the proper guidance to that. So maybe there's a partnership with the business who will say, yes, we will kind of employ this person to do your project, but it would have to be a community project and something specifically that the economic development is trying to achieve. And I'm not really sure. It seems like that could be complicated because it's kind of, how do you make sure that they're always working on the community project and not being siphoned off
Well, I
to,
understand that. I just
Yeah.
don't know.
No, I I think that's a great idea, but I'm not sure how. I agree that there are some businesses where I think there's some key positions that if we get an intern into that maybe that would help them out. But I'm not sure how to do that through this program.
So I'm not up to speed on the current situation of the water or sewage in the city.
So that would be
But
another one. That's a type of
is-
engineer.
They kicked around, haven't they kicked around, eventually we're gonna need new water lines in the city?
That is,
Is that
That's kind of going on now.
Yeah.
That we're
right?
going down
Is
that.
there any reason that they would need a construction engineer or some kind of help on drawing up,
Mechanical.
doing something like that for the city of Lincoln to help them?
and I have,
And maybe help with that cost for them.
yes, and I have tried to kind of promote this to the city, county, other nonprofits in the area. Here's an opportunity for an intern, for the city to have one of their own as opposed to economic development, get an intern that's doing
So
city
what,
work
is it
that
like
I
a
would-
civil engineer, is that what this type R is
I-
for?
I know
For
North,
waterworks, for electrical,
Yeah.
sewage,
If they could,
streets?
yeah.
I mean,
I know one of the interns, I think in Norton, it was a civil engineering student that helped to get all of their water lines into a GIS system so that everything's kind of, where it is, and as opposed to right now, the guys are,
doing sewer, I mean, that's another, I mean,
Yeah, are they
they've
gonna
got,
approach this just flying by the seat of their pants and start digging? Or do they have a plan, And if they don't have a plan, maybe
Yeah.
we could secure one of these kids to draw it all out like a civil engineer would. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean-
I've tried to,
And save $500,000, maybe 200, however many. Because that's what it's gonna cost to get a firm.
no, I think there is a need there for sure, but it doesn't, just haven't got a lot of response yet, or if it has, it hasn't come back to me, if they're talking about it. I can check back with them to see if they're going to do anything with it or not, but I guess I feel like that would be a great thing for them to get an intern for as opposed to,
what about things like social work and stuff? I mean, or-
yeah, the health department could get an intern. I mean, and any nonprofit or municipality is eligible for the program that we've had our interns through.
So there's another option.
But I guess when thinking about economic development next year, I'm just kind of struggling what our project and our need would be. I talked to Nadine Sigel, who's the one that kind of coordinates this, and asked her, so what would happen if we didn't have an intern? Am I gonna have a black eye on me or anything, or do I lose a place in line?
Credibility.
That we'll never be able to get one again because I stepped out of line, and she was like, no, don't worry about that. And she's like, you've done a great job. The Dane Hansen Foundation has noticed that you've been a very good supervisor, and you've had good students who have said great things, and so they do not feel that way at all. But I don't know, unless you guys have some great idea that we are coming down to the wire in terms of.
What, like I
what we
said, do you
do.
have a list of types besides?
It's whatever, I mean, they don't say it needs to be within this types of fields. It can be, what is the need? And how do we develop a
Well, we
project
have to
around it?
decide by October 30th.
Yeah, basically,
That's-
I thought it was the 15th, but somewhere else I read the 30th, so I think in the month, I could tell you, if it is the 15th, I could talk to Nadine and say, can we get a little bit more time? I think she'd be fine.
Yeah, what does everybody go to college for if they need to have internships?
I'll do.
Especially for this summer.
I'm sure this subject's been exhausted by every
Agriculture?
across the United States, but there's not a grant writer, that you could just have an intern here for the summer that researches and just writes for grants for a plethora of
For
different,
everything.
I don't know if that's even, I'm sure every
Is there
economic
such
development
thing?
office has probably, because I know we
yeah.
keep tapping Dane Hansen
Mhm.
and these same ones, but there's probably grants out there
Oh, there's,
that
yeah.
we have not had time,
Mhm.
and if we just had them here researching,
Mhm.
I don't know. just-
Well, and there is actually, and every once in a while I get a phone call from an organization or two where they, for a $5,000 membership a year, they have a database of every single charitable organization in the country. And it's kind of a database where, you know, hey, if we've got a project, whatever it may be, you get access to it, and they tell you, you know, what types of projects each of those things fund, you know, and so you can kind of get a probability of where they spend their money, so you can kind of start to target where you can apply for. But I've always looked at, like, it's several $1,000s a year for that
You can do that.
program.
I mean, people can do that themselves, can't they, online?
Well, yeah, you can research, but
But
this would be everything all in one place, and I've gone through the administration before, and I was like, it is pretty cool, but I guess I've never thought about, has it been worth it to do that, get that membership. But I think, you know, having a grant writer, I think that would be a good idea, but not knowing what projects need to be
granted.
granted or applying for, I don't know. I would have to think about that a little more. That's a working project. Or maybe it's
Well,
just.
and one other idea, I guess, in the same realm with the water lines and the fixing of what the current old infrastructure. You made a comment one time about when they put the Dollar General in, how they kind of didn't think very far ahead with regards to pull-ins
Yeah,
and
just how that actually.
and developing new infrastructure.
Mhm.
Would say a civil engineer intern be able to go around and encompass the current city limits or whatever with regards to new in the future,
Mhm.
and what would possibly be required as far as pull-ins and
Yeah.
and
Well, that I could see being kind of a
And the
thing
county
where,
and the bridges, and that's what I said, there could be more.
where if we saw that as a need, we would, to me, that,
maybe come up with
Person.
some other kind of a little bit better setup of ideas or plans, like in the future, if
Yeah.
something else to go in out there besides the Dollar General, I don't know. But right now, it doesn't sound like there's any kind of a plan at all. They just put it in there and with no regards to anything or anybody else.
yeah, well, I mean, how you get you need a sewer line out there, how you get a water line out there, if you need it, because I know you gotta have a lift station to kind of tie it into
Right.
the rest and drives. I think that is something that is needed, because if we're gonna develop that, we've gotta have a plan for it. Right now,
Or whether
There's a
there's
project.
development that goes on towards the east or not necessarily maybe towards the west because of the flood type situation, but more to the south, I don't know. But at some point in time, I would think that
I guess
this,
it'd all be civil engineering.
They'll
I mean,
grow
when you're
out.
plotting land and, I mean, visions, I mean, for future, what needs to be looked at.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I
that's
could
just
see
another
that.
idea.
Yeah, I can see that being a need. That might be one of those things though where somehow we would need to partner with an engineering firm to to maybe help with that, because I wouldn't be able to supervise on a project like that. I mean, I'd be able to say, you know, we need a plan for this kind of business, but the water lines and the slopes and the, you know, all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't have a clue how to direct somebody on that and make sure that they're gonna present a plan that's actually more than just lines on paper. I will talk to the city about that and see what they would think.
Maybe they already have a plan, but it doesn't seem like anybody really knows what it is. Same way with Sylvan Grove, or any of the little towns, I don't know.
What about your area? Emergency management? Any need?
Sirens. That's a handsome request that's coming up for me too, so.
Trying to secure more or new
New,
replacement,
new,
yeah,
yeah, replace
replace what is current.
And add one to the city.
Mhm.
And again, the total cost with generally the backup for each of the facilities, it's like a $286,000 project. So there's sirens, like up in Hunter, and again, it's in Mitchell County, but you page out, it's a Lincoln County Fire District. So Hunter's covered under our county statutes and whatnot, but again, their siren was put in 1975. And it's on a windmill stand in the southeast corner of town that pretty hinky, real hinky. But
All right, well, I will look into a couple of those ideas. Next thing, destination boot camp. If you remember in January, we had sent businesses out to Longmont, Colorado for this destination boot camp. Marion, Kansas is working out a way where they actually kind of bring a modified version of boot camp to Marion. And instead of the $1,000+ registration fee, it's $125. So there's a couple other businesses that have kind of expressed interest, so I wonder if we could approve, instead of trying to send another group out there, maybe if we can send a couple people to Marion. It's 2 days, so there would be hotel and food, and I'm not sure if we would want to cover that, or if we would expect the business owner to cover that. But I just kind of wanted to throw it out there to see if we would want to send people down there. We still have funds through our e-community marketing funds that we could use to pull from, so this wouldn't necessarily be coming from our general pot, or would be coming from our general pot, but we've got money in there from the marketing funds to go towards something like this. So I kind of want to get your thoughts if that was, Lana, I don't know if you, from your experience out there, if you think it would
I
worthwhile.
think any business that would take part in it, especially if they're struggling and looking for new ideas and revitalization, because he makes you look at things a whole lot different. So I think it would be necessary, or we could.
It is in a month, so I don't know if we're kind of down to the wire in terms of getting on people's calendars, but if we did it, I would need to get out there and start talking to some people right away. See if they'd be interested.
It's just a different guy.
Yeah.
No, it's the same guy, John Schaller. And I believe, it sounds like it's pretty similar to what is out there. It might be slightly modified and a few things taken out. And there wouldn't be the follow-up that our group had in terms of after conference calls with them. It would just be the the 2 days. But I think for the most part, it would be very similar. You get the same thing out of it. I think that would be sacrificed.
From a business standpoint, yeah, I think it's, especially in the small, I mean, that's what he kind of caters to, is the smaller. Puts connections to you, because like that guy that had the sunflower oil out there, he's gone national,
Yeah, I saw an article.
national news
Somewhere.
about him on, about it being a family-owned,
Yeah.
family-operated, multi-generational family
Yeah.
or farm that he went to growing sunflowers instead, and they did a whole big piece on him. I was like, wow. And he's just really popped.
Yeah.
So. And they brought up, of course, the cold process, of, you know, everything just being in the organic line, and it's really, I think his timing was excellent.
Got it figured out.
Well, it's from connections that he made, you know, for the different people to give it out to, so. Bird food.
So what do you guys, would that be okay to offer or no?
I'll make a motion to have you make readily available e-community funds for businesses who would be interested in attending the Destination Boot Camp in Marion, Kansas on November 14th and 15th, to include funding for hotels, registration, and meals.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to move forward with this Destination Boot Camp in Marion, Kansas. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Lincoln Park Manor update.
Well, that's a good one.
So basically, the committee is continuing to work. Trying to think where we were last month when we met. The city, or the county commission approved a letter of intent to negotiate with the Grace team. So that's been sent. For a while, we didn't have any meetings for a while because I was on vacation and Steve Granzo was on vacation. It just seemed like it was just a bad time to try and get people together. But we are now have regularly scheduled meetings, weekly meetings. So we met on Friday. Aljo Wallace has resigned from the committee, and Alexis is on the committee. And other committee members besides Alexis and myself is Steve Granzo, Don Harlow, Jennifer O'Hare, Doug Albin, and Bob Siegel. And so we are meeting and continuing to talk about how to move forward. I believe at Monday's commission meeting, the commission approved hiring an attorney who specializes in this kind of thing, because this is just really complicated in terms of how the licensing and everything works, just to make sure that we do this right. So that's kind of where things stand. I think we are in still a lot of research mode and trying to find answers to things as we keep talking and trying to figure out how best to move forward. So that's where we're at. So I'm hoping that now that we've got kind of a standing meeting time on everybody's schedule, that we'll be able to at least get some momentum going behind us, because there really hasn't been much between last month when that letter was approved and now. So there hasn't been any decisions or anything made. We're just still kind of trying trying to figure out how to move forward. So that's the basics of that.
Basically what he wants the county to buy it back for?
That's an option,
Okay, well, that's what I,
yeah. Or he's put
Or
kind of on
whether
the table what that would be. So. But we're looking to everything, and trying to figure out the best way to move forward. So if you ever have any questions or hear anything, feel free to let me know, ask, and I will do my best to kind of answer and fill you in and let you know where things are at or are moving forward. So. Next up is Eagle Communications, the fiber internet expansion. I believe today is the first day that installations are happening. So that's exciting. Installations, sounds like they're going to be kind of slow gearing up. They're still doing some fiber drops around town, but as things move along here in the next couple of weeks, they're going to really ramp up in terms of installation. So it is finally starting to happen, where people will be connected to the internet and being able to use fiber. So everything seems to be going pretty well with that. I haven't heard any complaints or anything in terms of Eagle being and running around town at all. If anything, I hear people just asking, when do I get my internet? So that's what I know there. Next up is just kind of something to put on your radar, especially if we're kind of thinking about loan to the library, but the Sylvan Senior Center has some thoughts in the works about potentially purchasing a building downtown Sylvan to moving locations, and they're not exactly sure how they're going to go about doing that yet. But a question that's I've got is, would economic development consider a loan from us? My answer was, well, I usually have point people to the bank first, because we don't want to compete with a bank in terms of that. So talk to Kurt, see what he would have to say, and then depending on that, we might, or I'll ask if the board would be interested in doing that. If we're not talking $100,000 by any means, it would be in terms of the loans that we've done, I think much on the small end. And they do have some money saved, but the thought would be that their savings would go towards the renovations that would be needed right away, as opposed to spending that to buy the building and then not having anything to fix it up. So if they could get a loan for the purchase of the building, they would be able to use what they've got to make some of the quick things needed right away. So I just kind of thought I would throw that out there for you to put on your mind, see if that's something that...
So they're probably not going to do these improvements that they...
No, it doesn't sound like it. They've got an issue with the building next door. Technically, even though it's two different properties, it's technically really one building. But they just put a wood wall in. But if you go down the basement is all one open space. But the building next door has a huge hole in their roof, and water's just coming in, and they're worried in terms of from a structural integrity of the roof, considering it's all tied in together. What if something happens over there? What happens to their senior center? Are they going to be able to get insurance for the building that they have? And they're worried that they're not going to be able to in that case. And whether they do. So, this is just kind of.
and the next door one has something too. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like they've talked to the person next door about buying it and fixing it or expand. It would triple their space, but that person even though the building's in
She's
very
still
bad
gonna have
shape.
the building.
Yeah, she seems, I guess she'd rather have it fall in as opposed to sell it. I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts on that, or, I have not heard what, if they've talked to Kurt yet. But, I think I wanted to let you know that it's kind of out there. I know we made a loan to the Finch Theater a while ago, trying to be a nonprofit, so.
It's just possible.
Okay. Next up, the Historic Preservation Fund grant projects. The consultant, Brenda Spencer out of Wamego, she will be here next week to start doing work. We've got a public meeting scheduled on Monday night in Sylvan and Tuesday night here in Lincoln to talk about what the survey is, what it isn't, what the process is, and just kind of inform people what's going on. I did include in your packet the survey area that I had put in our grant application. She may kind of look a little bit beyond that, just to see if there really is anything that needs to be pulled into it, but this is primarily the focus area, which is primarily commercial space, and not really anything residential. So I think I included you on an email, and I sent an email to both city councils and then property owners, which slightly tweaked for the audience and information. I can't remember which one I copied for some guys on, but anyway, she's going to be around next week. If you see somebody roaming around town taking lots of pictures, she's with us. So, another project in the works is Healthy Living Master Plan that came from the strategic doing process. Schwab Eaton is also on the job, I guess you could say. They are, we met with them, was that last week sometime? They came to Barnard to look at the levee there for a potential trail on that. They came to Lincoln, they looked at the park for a potential trail, new bathrooms. We talked about flooding stuff, which today I sent them pictures from what yesterday looked like so they get an idea. We went down to the dam
The
around
river
here
bridge.
for potential park there. They didn't make it to Sylvan, but they'll schedule another day there to go and meet with Jennifer on that. So as a reminder, that's being paid for through us from grant funding. So they're technically kind of under our umbrella in terms of work. And it's Stuart Porter and Jesse Benedict who's the primary people. I'm going to skip down here to Grow in Kansas. In your packet, I was at a conference in Dodge City, and somebody from the Kansas Department of Ag was talking about this Grow in Kansas initiative. And I think it's come out of what happened in Tonganoxie earlier, was that this year or last year, where the state of Kansas was working to recruit Tyson into the state. They had identified a community, everything was kind of all said and done, and then when it became public, it was very clear the community did not want that. So this is, I think, a way that the Department of Ag is trying to figure out what is it that each community wants and doesn't want. And so they're kind of trying to get people to think about, in terms of ag, economic development within the ag sector. They listed, here's all the areas of potential growth that the state has identified for ag, and so what is it within this that we feel like the community wants, the community supports. So if we check poultry and they bring Tyson to town, are we going to freak out? You know, are we going to push that away or not? So that, you know, there's economic development, the county, the cities, we've all kind of gone on public record that these are the types of things that we will support. So it's a survey essentially, and I'm not really sure how to do this. To me, it seems like, you know, if they want letters of support from the different municipalities, somehow we need to have a conversation all together in terms of what is it that we really want and what is it
What's
that we really
acceptable,
don't want.
going to be acceptable in your county.
Right,
I
right,
mean, what,
right. And, you know, same with, you know, poultry is obviously a very controversial thing. I think the pork is another thing that's been very controversial in a lot
dairy,
of
because
communities.
someone
Dairy, yeah.
is
So
gonna have that dairy and
some of these things I look at and be like, of course we want all this kind of stuff, you know, but then there's a
But I think part of it is it between an independent farmer and corporations, though. I mean, if that's where that comes from. I mean, is that corporation going to come in and take away from the independent? I mean, I think that's part of it.
So I just kind of wanted to throw this out there. Somehow we need to respond, but I don't know, you know, I don't want it on my shoulders. And, you know, we need to show that this has been, the community has been engaged, the community is on board with these things, so that when we send this to the Department of Ag, they know that if they're trying to recruit Tyson, they can or can't consider Lincoln County as an option, or somebody else, or, you know.
What are you doing the strategic doing in October 23rd? Can that not be
Well,
introduced, advertised?
it could. I'm not sure if that would be the right
Well, I'm
form
just,
or not,
I mean,
or,
or bring it up
Yeah,
again
yeah,
and set
no.
another date for, you know, it's like, hey, let's get people together to explain what is acceptable to your community. I mean,
yeah,
and then whatever, I mean, what's that gonna take? Is that gonna take away from or add to, I mean, whether it be water or whether it be redoing roads or not redoing roads? Is that gonna, I mean, that's always they tried to bring it in where I came from, an asphalt plant. That turned into a thing at Tyson. We were just doing an explanatory meeting, and all of a sudden,
yeah.
we had 500 people there in the building, and it was like, we only, you know, room the size of this.
Yeah. Well, and another part of this too is sort of the incentives. You know,
Is it for
what
jobs?
are you willing to, as a
I
community, as
didn't
a
read
county,
through all of it, but
yeah, what are you willing to offer? If you're not willing to offer anything, that's fine, but
You're a
probably
closed
not
county.
Going, yeah, but you're probably not going to have anything brought to you either. So it's kind of, I guess it's sort of trying to get there to be a local conversation about this kind of stuff, so that the Department of Ag knows.
well, they can address them. I mean, like I said, whether it's manufacturing or, like you say, poultry, dairy, different kinds of grains. I mean,
So I don't know, I feel like in order to do this right, it's sort of, we need to have something almost kind of like that strategic planning session we had a few years ago, when I was first
Like
in
we
the
had
job.
out at
and-
the Great High
Yeah,
School.
yeah, where we're trying to get
I think I would agree with that.
everybody together.
You need to start advertising it and then pick a night to get 50 or 100 people to come in and give their opinion on each one of these.
But if we're doing that, I feel like we need to have a facilitator. I don't want to be, I don't know how, if I could facilitate that kind of meeting, but if we can have somebody from
Well, we
the
could-
Department of Ag kind of come in.
Well, that's what, yeah.
And kind of help
And
us
see
through
if
the
you can get
conversation.
somebody to go and he
Well,
can
let's
answer some
Russell.
questions.
Russell Flashfoot,
Huh?
this fellow right here,
Are you looking?
maybe he would have somebody
This, the front page of the Kansas
such
Department,
that
or the seal.
somebody probably on staff or something
Third
comes
page.
out
There's a,
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah. Well, I will start kind of looking into that idea and see if there's a way to get a facilitator and what that would take. And as far as I know, this was just kind of introduced last month, so I don't think any county has gone through anything yet. I
Get in
don't know
there,
what other
Jim.
counties are gonna do. What's that?
get in there and get him, come explain.
All right, to back up just a little bit, the potential partnership with the chamber. I have actually a letter for you from, let's see, chamber.
Oh, sure. I thought we went that way.
So as you guys know or may have heard, Nancy has resigned from working at the chamber. So they are kind of talking about what do we do. I think financially things have been pretty crunched for them here lately. And I believe in the past, at least I've been told, that I don't know, a while ago, not necessarily since I've been here, but a while ago, there's been some conversation about the chamber and economic development working together, or partnering together, or merging, or something like that. And so I guess this has just kind of come up again since they are kind of looking at what to do, what would be best for them. What I've suggested is, that probably as a chamber board, this is a great time to survey your membership. What's working, what doesn't work, what needs to grow, what needs to go away, because then you have a better idea of what kind of person that you actually want to hire. Do you want to have somebody who has a specific skill set to kind of really target in on this area and be very effective at it, or do you want somebody who's just sitting there and can answer the phone, or what is of the most value to you? Another part of the conversation has been, I've got a part-time person, they have a part-time person. Is there a way that 2 part-times can equal either a full-time or close to full-time, where we're both kind of getting more help out of it?
So job description is what their expectations are.
Yes, and we're not certainly to that level, but I guess that's kind of,
I don't know what Nancy's job description was, or what was expected of what she was supposed to do, set the meetings up, fix the meal, I mean, I don't know. For the chamber.
so, very, very early, in kinds of, is this something that we want to pursue, to continue talking about, or do we just, no, we don't want to do that? But, I guess the kind of idea is, in terms of staff, do we share a staff person? And if so, do we need to consider a shared office space, or do you have somebody who is split between 2 locations? In terms of office space, that's, a consideration is that of what's going on in the courthouse, and there has been conversations. Last month, I thought everything was just going to be upstairs and we weren't going to be affected, but now it looks like they're kind of looking down here again in terms of shuffling things around with Case of Extension and me and you, and there's really no clear direction at all from the county commission in
do
terms
we
of
pay rent on our office?
No, we don't.
If we went downtown, we would probably have to.
Right, if we move somewhere else, then yes, we would have
I'm gonna have
expenses
to
that
get
we
an architect involved.
Is there a thermostat down there that you can turn down?
in the building.
So you're not so hot. Is it always hot in here?
Well, yeah, I mean, this week since the heat's come on,
Holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
no,
Well,
it
well
does
done.
seem a little,
Is
it does seem a
economic
little
development
more.
right now, right next to village lines? Is that still where they're at?
That's
The
chamber.
chamber.
This is economic.
Or, I mean, chamber.
No,
Tara Cubic,
they're down.
Right next to, yeah.
Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
And that's the
They-
Stop and Shop.
Between Stop and Shop and.
So that was years ago they were
Yeah,
there.
that was long.
And do they have their own?
Do they own the
office?
building?
They do own the building, yes. You could have sort of,
I've never been in there. How big is it? Is it
About
it's
like
not a
this
big
room?
building, it's
Little
probably
bit.
not
Bit
very
longer.
big. Yeah. If you walk in there, there's kind of reception space, I guess you could say, where Nancy sits, and it's kind of open, and then there's a back room where they have their conference table. But the conference table is probably one of these and shorter, and you've got sometimes 10 people
So it
squeezed
wouldn't
around there. It's a tight room.
necessarily suffice to hold our meetings or,
It would be tight. And especially, I mean, if you've got 2 people working in there, there would be no way. I mean, you would have to get rid of the conference room. And, you know, I kind of wondered, like, well, how important would it be to have a conference room? And my thought is, it would be really nice, because for as many meetings as between our board and the chamber board, but strategic doing, group meetings, and all the little volunteer projects that are out there, if every single one you have to constantly trying to figure out where to meet and get a key to that spot and get the key back or whatever, it would be a pain.
Are the walls stone post also, do you know? I think they are, but I can't.
I think maybe one is like between there and Terra, but I'm not sure about between there and Stop and Shop. I don't know. It's kind of,
Well, you'd be the one that would be, the meetings that you have, I mean, it affects us once a month, basically, unless we call a special meeting. So you're gonna have to be the,
well, and from that perspective, like, it'd be really nice to have a conference room where you didn't have to spend time
Well,
kind of constantly hunting something
one
down.
place I'm thinking about, Lee, well, where they used to have Farm Bear on them.
No, but
Is that whole office and building, do they still own that? Or is somebody else in there now, or has it been vacant ever since Farm Bear
That's the
moved out?
one that,
they had their lease. Their son was living in the back for a
Lee,
while, but I think it's
Boudreaux.
15
Boudreaux.
Boudreaux.
is that the one that Mike Simmons bought with the antique store? Right next to
Next to
Oh,
the
yeah,
insurance
yeah.
works, or no, the school board? Or what?
well, this is the, I mean,
Well, I mean, there's a big office space in there, plus a really nice conference room in
It's
that.
the
you're
building
talking
is-
about buying another building.
No,
It's very
not
small.
necessarily, I don't know. It may, do Boudreaux still own it?
I believe so.
And-
But if not, then
Is that the one that's two stores down from the antique store? So you have the
Yeah.
antique store,
yeah.
the really bad building, and that one. Mike Simmons bought it,
Oh, okay.
and it is not in good shape.
Oh, okay.
I've been in there and I was like,
Oh, okay.
it's got problems.
Sturtz's are looking to put a business in.
Well,
In the
what,
basement.
I mean, I don't know if we want to get to like specific places. My thought would be if we need to find a space, we would do kind of like what we did for the housing request.
Well, I had no idea.
We would put it out there.
That
and
particular
get-
venue would really be kind of cool for the two, plus you'd have that
Yeah.
conference room.
And, you know,
But,
if someone would be, if Mike Simmons wanted, or whoever wanted to say, hey, I've got a space and I will
well, it
do
used to be
these
really
improvements
nice
and everything. And
clean
for this-
and
yeah.
decent, but I don't have any idea.
No, I think it's the one I'm thinking of, there's some.
So
I
when
don't
you,
have time
when
for it,
you
but-
mentioned that it'd be nice to have a conference room,
Mhm.
then that's basically saying that you wouldn't be able to work in the current chamber office unless you could find an additional
We
conference.
would just have to kind of figure out, and maybe, you know, if the courthouse would allow me to have a key to the building where this would always be accessible to me, so I wouldn't have to be finding a key, and I could kind of book the space, then that would be, I mean, that might be a possibility. I have not thought about the space exactly too much. It's kind of like yes, there is, the chamber does own their building, and yes, you could have 2 people working in that. But you wouldn't have, it would be, in terms of meetings, you wouldn't be able to meet in there either.
It'll be big enough for when you say you need that little extra space for your interns.
And there would be no
Yeah,
extra
right.
space for interns.
It's
So it
just
doesn't
not
run
big.
all the way back to the alley?
No.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's
It's
a
a real
pretty
short
short
building.
building.
So what's behind it?
Little bathroom and a closet right there.
Yeah,
Probably
there's
one of the
really no.
buildings that's short.
Oh, and behind
Yeah,
it
there's
is
room to
just
park
parking,
behind it.
parking area.
Oh, really?
I would say the whole building is
Pick it up.
probably about this size. I think probably narrower,
Yeah.
but maybe about this.
A little longer.
This long.
What's gonna,
Thinking caps on, I guess. Put down the needs, or the chamber has to put their 2 cents in as to what they're willing to.
Well, and I think, if they survey their membership in the community, kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work. Where do they want to focus somebody? And for me, how do we do that? I've talked to Chris a little bit and said this is just kind of in the back of my mind, and I don't know if she would have interest in an expanded role or not, if she could do that or not, and we haven't really talked about
2 or 3
that
things
at all.
that you'd have to,
Yeah, there would be a lot that we'd have to figure out, but
with the chamber, and what they want from their
is Jennifer gonna stay in her office?
secretary.
I don't know.
Isn't that what they call it? Nancy's just a chamber secretary.
I think they call her like office manager, is kind of what they, I guess,
So
would it
is
make
this
sense at all?
What is this? Is this an invitation that they would like to join, or is this they're looking into?
This is to start the conversation. Is
Okay.
this something?
So yesterday
that-
they had a meeting,
Yesterday they had a
and
meeting.
they expressed that they were gonna do some research. Is that all they?
They said that they were gonna do a survey. I wasn't at the meeting,
Okay.
but it sounded like they were gonna move forward with surveying their membership in
Who's
terms of,
the head of their,
Craig.
no, Colleen Biggs is the president. Craig is on the board. Yeah.
Craig Sturts is?
Yeah.
I knew he was president.
Yeah, that was,
Last year, 2 years ago.
yeah. So it was basically, I guess, an official invitation
To think
to
about.
discuss whether this would be a good idea or not. Is this something that would be willing to be entertained and looked at or not? And I kind of want to get your thoughts, knowing, since you guys have a lot more history with the organization, if this is something where we feel like maybe with what we try and do, with having a closer relationship in some way would benefit us both, or if we don't want to do that. There are concerns with, I don't want to be the chamber director. That is not going to be cool for me. So I do not want to take on any more roles or anything. That is not what I'm trying to do by any means, because there's just no way. I just can't do that. But is there a way that somehow we can both operate and achieve our goals better if there is some kind of collaboration
One
with
thing
the staff
maybe-
person there?
One of the problems is they maybe can't find somebody just for a part-time to achieve what they need to do. And it would, of course, suffice better to have a full-time, so that we could have
Well, it just
job
depends, I think,
description,
at
or
times-
enough of a job to hold one person.
At different times of the year, yes, she was busier than others, and then there was other times, she didn't have a whole lot to do. But
Well, the timing thing's kind of, I wish they decide what to do on the shuffle, because we may need them. We may need a place to go.
Yeah,
When are we gonna find that out?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll be, yeah, I haven't been hurt, no one's really talked to me about anything, but I've never heard an option of me being kicked out of the building totally. It would be moved to somewhere. I don't know if David wants you to say anything
I'm deep
different,
in the dark than
but, so I know, yeah,
because
you're,
I've told the uppers that I'll go wherever.
yeah. And you definitely are moving, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
The impression.
Yeah, I'm bouncing somewhere.
so,
So the one up next to the jury thing is where you are.
I'm beside the district court clerk.
Right. And you're leaving that.
Mhm.
And,
That's where the attorney's going.
yeah.
but I thought you just asked, is she?
Well, I'm at the building downtown.
If she was gonna
Her
keep
private-
her
Our private
office.
practice will still remain down there, just county attorney affairs stuff will happen up there.
I don't know what Jennifer will do. She's for private. But yeah,
Like I said, I think
timing.
it's something we have to think about, but until the shakeout, whatever comes, what do you, but it's an option to go into, I mean,
Well, I guess, but on the other way though, if we decide we're gonna do something, then that might affect the shakeout, and they might not have to do a lot of shuffling. It might be very easy for them, because they just might need to come down then if we decide to go somewhere else. So I don't know, I mean, one can kind of affect
In
the
my
other.
opinion, I don't think we should try to go somewhere else because I think it's going to be so costly that all the plans and notes that we have for Lincoln County are gonna be money down the drain and rent and utilities and everything else that we're not paying for now by being here. So I would like to see it shuffle maybe here before I would ever want to go downtown and try it on our own.
I
think
agree
it's
with
just
that,
a-
but I mean, if
I mean, if
it's,
we get booted, then we,
I
no
don't think that
choice,
we
but-
would be booted, but I would be surprised if we didn't be booted. But, until they make a decision. I mean, are you gonna offer up, say, well, we can move?
Yeah,
Well, I
would
think
say-
this letter right here is they're being proactive. They're not, they're actually gonna do a survey and find out, and then give you
Yes.
the invitation.
Yes,
And then we'll have a decision to make, and we will not be able to sit on our hands at that point in time. So we need to be a little more proactive
It's not making
and
a
look at
decision.
the options. So you need to think about whether or not you could coexist down there. I mean, if you think you could, and then if this comes to fruition, you need to maybe be in on the interview,
Oh, yeah.
hiring.
Yes.
Have they hired anybody in replace of Nancy?
No.
No, and they haven't even started that process either. But I feel like if we would need to have all of this stuff sorted out before you would
Exactly.
ever advertise for somebody, because I do feel like, depending on how this is sorted out, yes, I would want to be on interview. If
Exactly.
I'm gonna be working with somebody,
And
or
that's times
directing
of the
them in
essence,
some way, you know.
because they're going to want somebody,
Mhm.
probably,
Or
as soon
whether
as
Chris
possible.
wants to expand, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
And Chris is probably going to be limited at this point, isn't she? She's in the clerk's office. She's for us. Is she working for David?
The newspaper, she works for the
Is she
newspaper.
still working for?
Mhm.
Oh, she's
No.
not. Oh,
The
okay. So it's the
newspaper.
newspaper.
Yeah.
I would think if she considered this,
yeah.
would have to give something else up. But
Yeah, and like I said, I just kind of mentioned to her that this is kind of something that's kind of starting to kind of brew a little bit, but we didn't really talk too much more than that. I think that it's just, before anybody can decide or think about, we just kind of need to explore what would be the best scenario. What would we want to do and what would we not want to do? Until we know that, I'm not sure.
I see there could be benefits, I mean, there could be benefits for it. You know, share
And this letter,
situations.
if you read it again, they're not necessarily asking us about you moving into their office, they're more so wanting to share an employee at the very least.
Yeah, and then space-wise, that would maybe be the second question is, does this person then kind of float between two places?
And that's kind of
Or-
what they said.
I have sent an email out to kind of my economic development listserv, because I know some of them are kind of chamber economic development all in one, or they share an office space, just to kind of get some response from them. And for the most part, the ones that share office space, like it's great because we can kind of cover for each other. You know, if somebody's not in the office, there's another person there. We're better collaborating on projects or know what's going on with the other two. We're kind of more not overlapping in terms of projects, or not duplicating things. So it seems to go well. The ones that sort of caution are the ones where the economic development person is also the chamber person. So like that's not, those seem to be a problem, because now you have two-person who kind of works for two different bodies, and everything is truly dumped on one person, and those are the ones that seem to have the conflicts.
I see Barb's point on the cost, but I can't imagine if they own their building that they'll gouge us that bad on rent, will they?
Oh, I would hope not. Or maybe that's part of their deal, you know, where they would let us be there.
If you want to share costs, or we pay part and they pay part, I don't know. Utilities and insurance, the building's paid for.
Is their building paid for?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I said it'd just be the cost of
So we should have kept that beauty shop.
Yeah.
think, and see what comes up, find out whatever
So-
information,
Talk about it, maybe try and put an idea,
and see what
pencil
they're.
on paper of what might.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I hate to see you run both.
No,
I mean, I just think you'd be spread too thin.
yeah. I will have a problem with that, and I will make sure you guys have a problem with that. I will make it a problem for you. Because there's no way. There's just no way.
Well, she had 20 hours or 29 hours, what,
Around 25.
25 hours is what hers was. And like I said, I know there was times she, what could be spread, but then there was, exactly how that all broke down, I don't know. What her duties were or what the chamber expects. That's what you'd have to know too, is what her job description says, what her expectations are. For sure. I mean, I suppose if you had a second person helping you, what you did, minus the books, I don't know. I mean, what you worked it, you tell us. I mean, you filled in the blank.
Well, I also, when I first started, I did some duties for the chamber because we were down there at Maryland's. And Dorothy Andreessen was there on certain days and I was there on certain days. Well, the public that comes in doesn't know whether it's a chamber day or an economic development day. So you have to be ready for either one. And so I kind of started that way. Yeah, I was learning, I guess, from both the duties of both organizations. And then, I mean, yeah, it would be easy to share an extra person, but I don't think Chris can absorb it. So
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We don't want to lose Chris,
Mm-mm.
so are we going to be paying for that other person that maybe just comes up to answer the phone when Kelly's gone? Or, I think that's what they're needing the most help with, the chamber, is the wages, right? Maybe?
Yeah, they are in a financial crunch in terms of, and I think they see that they might
Well,
need
the
to cut back
chamber
the hours and.
Change their whole, what they do too, to a degree. I mean, it needs to be revamped, and they've talked about that. You know, exactly where it all fits in. You'd have to have somebody that wants to volunteer and say, where do we need to go with this? But you gotta find those. I mean, would it be advantageous for you to have another person?
I can give somebody
Plenty to do?
plenty to do. I mean,
Well, that's
that-
what I'm saying.
That's
I
not
mean,
a problem from my perspective.
Would 25 hours a week plus what like I said, you'd have to put those two together. What you think you could use possibly, what the chamber wants, and then decide.
Well, in terms of hours, I mean, if Nancy's doing 25, we budget for 15 hours a week for Chris, so
Right.
we're already at 40 hours. And Chris rarely gets to 15. She probably averages more like the 12 hours in terms of what she puts in. So, but between the two, if you're just looking from hours perspective, there's enough, and plus everything more to do, you know.
Like I said, I just put it on paper and see what you come up with, and then you can't make a decision until you really know. So.
Is everybody okay with continuing a conversation, I guess, or?
Well, I think
Yeah, let's find
it
out
makes a
what,
little bit of sense. But I think Chris, if she's interested in doing this, she would probably need to give up, you know, what she's doing at the paper or whatever. I don't know what she's all involved with.
Yeah. No, there would have to be.
But, and if she isn't willing to do that, then, you know, then you gotta restructure what you're trying to do.
Well, we'll keep talking and maybe trying to pencil out an idea. See if it will work or not.
And maybe Chris has got some ideas, who knows?
Okay. I guess to go back up to the beginning then, last thing, the loan to the library. I thought Charlene was coming, but I don't see an email from her. So, the library is looking to apply to the Heritage Trust Fund, which is part of the fund of the Kansas State Historical Society, for a large window project. Their windows are, I believe they're the original windows, and they've got some storm windows that are needing some work. The windows need some work. So they've got, I know 2 cost estimates. I believe a third one was coming in yet. And so the total project cost, what they're looking at in the grant application, would be $108,000. The grant can cover 80% of that, which would be $86,000, and so the library's match would be $21,000. That's assuming if they get a grant and it's fully funded at the max. The library does have the match for their local portion. The problem is that they will have a cash flow problem because they need to pay, the contractor gives a bill, they need to pay that bill and then ask for reimbursement from the grant. So, they're going to have to kind of front the money before they can get reimbursed. And it's not like they have to front everything and only ask for reimbursement after everything's all said and done. They can ask for reimbursement in phases, but they still are gonna have to.
So basically,
potentially
we would be
cover.
a flow through. I mean, we're not really,
Well, we would be,
or we are.
I mean, the question would be willing to do a loan, to just kind of,
A short-term.
a short-term loan to kind of help them with their cash flow. I talked to Bob about it, and he said, well, another idea would be to do like a line of credit. That's basically what they need. They need a line of credit. But when I asked him how would that work, he didn't really know how we would do that, and I guess I kind of,
Could make it a little more complicated than just a loan.
that's what I was kind of thinking. It
The
seems like a loan
simplicity
would
would
just
be
be,
the loan.
yeah, because I don't,
Well, you made a comment earlier in the meeting about not competing with the banks. Now, if this isn't something they could just
well,
get,
I did ask Mitch, and like
I mean,
before, yeah,
it's cut and dry.
yeah, I talked to Mitch, just kind of like, we've been asked, what would you guys feel about this? And he was kind of like, for that little amount of money, for that short amount of time, probably it's needed. He didn't make it sound like it was something that they,
Would even consider.
well, yeah, they were like, do it, because it'll be more of a pain than anything, or not a pain, that's not what he said, but he did not seem like.
It's not what they paid for.
Yes, he seemed perfectly fine with us doing the loan as opposed to feeling like that was taken away from potential business for them.
But when I read the packet that you sent out, and then you started this conversation with if they get the grant.
So
Let's go there.
They do
But they
have the
did
grant,
get
or they
it.
don't have.
Or
They do not have the grant. The thing is that
Oh.
in order to apply for the grant, they need to prove that they have figured out how they're going to handle the cash flow problem.
Oh, and
So-
that's where this comes in.
So that's where we come in. So what I'm thinking is if we're willing to do this, we provide a letter that they can put in their grant application stating that in the case that they are awarded a grant, economic development is willing to give them a loan to cover their cash flow. They need something in their grant application that says how they are going to do this. Because if they don't demonstrate that they've thought about that and have a plan, then that could be a problem in terms of getting the grant. So they just need to state we have a plan in place. But we don't need to approve a loan at this time. If they get the grant, then that's when we do the paperwork to actually make the loan. And we can figure out exactly how much of a loan do they need, If they're fully funded, that
Okay.
doesn't necessarily mean they need $86,000.
But they need the letter to get the grant.
They need a letter stating that we will provide a loan
If needed.
if
So we-
they're awarded a grant.
All
Okay.
you really need is permission to write that letter. We don't even know what amount.
Right. If they're awarded a grant, then we can figure out
Then
the
we
actual
figure
loan
that out.
paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But we kind of just need to know, is this something that we're willing to do or not? Because if we're not willing to do it, then we shouldn't write a letter.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm kind of looking at right now.
So the loan would be
It looks pretty
approximately.
safe. Don't you? I think.
Well, it is, sounds better now.
Yeah.
I thought we gave them 86,000 hoping they got a grant.
No.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't think the
like
library,
that.
they don't want to do a loan if they don't have to make.
Well, it
I mean,
was pretty
with
tough
regards
cash
to
flow.
the library, I would think, and they got all that, yeah, it's pretty safe. It's almost a no-brainer, and it's just a service more than anything. It's a service.
But we don't want to lose money on it either.
Well,
I mean, because every time,
there'll be a
I mean,
little
there's
bit.
a charge
interest in
that
it.
Bob always has, can we pass that off to them as well?
Well, sure.
So that, I mean,
Yeah,
like
in
we
terms of they
typically
need to
have,
cover
they're
their
gonna have to cover those
Fees, lawyers' fees.
Bob
because,
is the one that
yeah,
writes
we're gonna
the-
probably
The
make
note,
little
I imagine.
to nothing on interest if they pay it back that fast, so we don't wanna pay for the paperwork.
Well, and I
make
could tell
nothing.
the library that, like, we'll be willing to do
Pass
this,
all
as long as you
this
know that you're gonna have to pay the filing fees and attorney
Yeah.
fees and stuff like that. And that might I don't know if that's something that they can build into their grant application in terms of the
Yeah,
admin of the
yeah.
whole project.
I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
it's not, it won't be that much, but still. We don't. Okay.
So is
we
that
need a
something?
motion for that.
Yes, I think I would like to say in the letter, the board made a
Have
motion.
a-
and
We'll need a
approved.
motion to approve.
I so moved we make a loan or possible loan. I'm not
I
sure.
think we
Just to write a letter.
Write the letter.
write a letter stating that economic development is willing to make a loan to the library to assist with their cash flow. Is that what he said?
Betsy. Yes. Like, where do we go with this?
I'll second.
We've had a motion and a second on the library window project. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
So those are my updates. I do have a couple business things, but I would like to do that in executive session. I don't expect any decision or anything, just kind of an update on some things. That's okay with you guys. Tim, do you feel okay with that, or?
Yeah.
And your motion to go into executive session for how long?
Oh, let's do 20 minutes, maybe?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
For,
20 minutes.
yeah, more
Oh,
explanation.
for, the, forgot my paper, the confidentiality dealing with business, financials.
I'll vote in favor of it. I'm more the
The
better.
one with the confidentiality of business interests, non-disclosure of financial trade secrets, what else is in there?
Can you get that paper and print it out here?
I know, I do, I need to do that.
So we can be legal.
That sounded pretty legal to me. Second.
Guess all in favor, aye.
All right.